In this lesson, we are going to talk and address the structures and the organs involved in the digestive and in the respiratory system. On this first part, I'm going to point out all the structure starting from the neck of the animal and going down toward the ventral side. And so I already opened the chest cavity. As you can see, all the ribs are broken here. And then starting from the base of the neck or the throat, you can see this part here is part of the voice box, or the larynx, but we're not going to test you on this structure. And then on the continuation down from the larynx will be the trachea. Now, the trachea is for the respiration, passage of the air into the lungs, and as you can see, it's very flexible because it's made of cartilage rings. And then we'll go eventually into the lungs, which are divided on the right and left side. And then the lungs they're divided into lobes. And so the top one would be the cranial, right, would be the same, right and left, cranial, right lobe of the lungs, the medial lobe of the lungs, and the left caudal lobe of the lungs. As I said, the same is on the other side. But there is also a accessory lobe, which is down here. You have to lift the heart in order to see it, and it's kind of sitting right on top of this membrane structure, which we're going to see soon. That is the diaphragm. Okay, so see this little accessory lobe of the lungs. Now, going back to the base of the throat, if we move the trachea, you can pull out this sort of a tube-like structure, which is flat right now, and that would be the esophagus. And it is flat and flexible also behind the flexible trachea to allow the food to go through, even if it is a large piece, right? Okay, so it will go all the way down, and that esophagus then will end into the upper part of the stomach, which we're going to see in a moment. Going back to the thoracic cavity, there are some other structures that you need to know. And one of them is this very noticeable, this is a gland, actually it's the thymus gland with these lobes. It is very large, and usually this gland is very prominent in a young specimen, and so the same happens with humans. And the function of this gland is to start to set up the immune system, and this is why it's so prominent when they're still young, and then eventually recedes once the immune system is already set up and going. If I lift now the thymus gland, as you can see, I can expose the heart. And now the heart here, just like we saw in the shark, it also sits in this cavity, which is called the pericardial cavity, the cavity around the heart. The heart itself, it is contained into a little sac, which is called the pericardial membrane, right? And in this one particularly, there's a little bit of fat also sitting on it, so I'm going to pick it out. Okay, and if you remember, when the organs are sitting in a cavity, there is a membrane that surrounds the cavity itself. That's called the pericardial cavity, or in this case is the sac. I'm going to cut off this one. So this one that I'm cutting off is the pericardial membrane. You see I'm peeling it off. There's the pericardial membrane, just like the wall around it. And then there will be a membrane very attached to the heart itself. So this is the pericardial membrane, and this is the heart. And the membrane is the visceral pericardial membrane, or visceral pericardium, which is hard to detach because it's really all adhering onto the muscle itself. So again, the pericardial cavity has the pericardial parietal pericardium, visceral pericardium all around. We will get back to this one with the circulatory system. Meanwhile, let's continue. There is a term called the mediastinum. Mediastinum is this area here, actually in the middle of the chest, where the heart attaches on the top part, but on the bottom part is also attaches to the top of the diaphragm. So do you understand that the heart, even when it beats, it doesn't go out of place, it just stays all connected. And so it would be here. That is the mediastinum area more than a structure.